Good afternoon. Welcome to Midweek Musings here at Trinity Heights United Methodist Church. I am Kent Little, Senior Pastor. It's good to have you join me this afternoon, this day at noon, for my musings. Little breezy, little chilly outside, but and yet for the middle of December, it's still pretty nice weather. I think it's supposed to be in the high 40s or low 50s maybe today. Anyway, I just got in from being out running around, and it's a pretty nice day, all things considered. Anyway, I hope if you want to get outside, you're able to do that. Started off pretty cloudy this morning. I thought maybe it wasn't going to be as nice a day as it's turned out to be. Anyway, thanks for being here. Glad you're with us. Glad you're with me. Excuse me. I'm going to take a little sip. The beginnings of my musings today are going to be kind of a rerun as we approach Christmas, as we move through this season of Advent. Last week we had the cantata and extra music during the contemporary service, extra Christmas music. You know, this is a great day. I love music. It's always, I always love services when we can include more music. I had a good friend that said to me, or I heard that it said that any music that moves you is sacred. And for me, that is so true. So many songs, not only faith-based, not only religious songs, but pop songs, the soundtrack of my life, if you will, from the 60s and 70s and 80s. So many of those songs they transport me back to those days, and so many of them have been and still are inspiring to me. Some of those can still move me to tears even. And so any music that moves us is sacred, is a thinning, if you will, maybe of that veil between we and the divine. Anyway, so I hope you know and have those songs yourself that move you, that music that moves you to a special place and memory. This week is, in terms of the church, is pretty quiet. I think I mentioned last week we have the Sunset Elementary School Christmas tree with the ornaments, where we were providing some gifts for some of the children there. All of those ornaments ended up being gone on Sunday, so that was great. The gifts are piling up out in the foyer, out in the narthex, around that tree, and so I think today is the deadline to have your gifts back. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you get them back today, so we can deliver those to the school. And then next week is things pick up significantly in terms of what we're doing here at the church. On a week from today, on Wednesday at 6:30, we are having what I call the longest night service. Many of my colleagues call it Blue Christmas. My first mentor, my first pastor, Paul Morris, when I was just beginning the ministry, he referred to it as the longest night service, and so that's what I've always called it. Anyway, we'll do that next Wednesday at 6:30. And if you're unfamiliar with that service, it's just a gathering to acknowledge that the holiday season can often be difficult, especially for those who have lost, and not just the loss of loved ones and that grief of those who have died, and perhaps this is your first Christmas holiday season without your husband or your partner or your spouse, a good friend, a parent, child, etc. And even though there's lots of merriment, if you will, going on around us, sometimes we don't particularly feel very merry. And so this service is designed to basically say that's okay. You're not alone. Many of us feel that difficulty in the season. And it's not just about loss to death. loss of health, loss of finances, loss of a job, loss of relationship with good friends or family, parents, lovers, etc. Just loss in terms of what we hope or are hoping the world would be, and somehow it's not. Just an opportunity to gather together as a community of faith, to recognize that life is full of joy and merriment, and life is full of struggle and heartache. And to be able to acknowledge that and to not deny it, and to say that's okay. It's okay. We're here. We're together, and we'll get through this together. And so, if that sounds helpful and hopeful to you, I hope you'll join us next Wednesday at 6:30 in the sanctuary for our longest night service. And then on Christmas Eve, on Sunday, a week from this coming Sunday, we'll have just one service at 10 o'clock in the sanctuary in the morning, which will serve as our fourth Sunday of Advent. We'll finish up Mary's Magnificat that Sunday morning. And then at 6:30 in the evening, we'll have our Christmas Eve candlelight service. The theme for that service, and the message for that service, is the journey. We'll have communion, we'll have candlelight, we'll have lots of Christmas music, and time to gather and celebrate the coming of the Christ child. So I hope you have those on your calendar. Next Wednesday at 6:30 for the longest night, 10 o'clock on Sunday morning for our regular morning worship, but we'll just have one worship service, and then our Christmas Eve candlelight and communion service at 6:30 that evening. And there are lots of things going on. I still have my class. We'll meet tonight, and then we won't meet till after the first of the year. We'll have one last meeting this year tonight at 6:15 here at the church. We'll be continue to use Marcus Borg and John Dominic Crossan's book, The First Christmas, and talk about it. Tonight we're going to kind of focus on the prophecies that are often attributed to the foretelling of Jesus coming back in Isaiah, etc. And we'll talk about what those prophecies meant then, and how we look at those prophecies now through the lens of Jesus, and see, oh, there are parallels here perhaps. Anyway, so we'll talk a little bit about that tonight at 6:15. I think those are the main things happening here at the church. Of course, getting ready to work on the budget as pledges have come in for next year's budget, etc. And so anyway, so those are some of the things that are happening here at Trinity Heights in Newton. This coming Sunday, the third Sunday of Advent, we'll continue working with. I'm going to set this down. Working with Mary's Magnificat. We've been reading a little bit of it each Sunday, and this coming Sunday, we are going to read the next section. Let me just read to where we are at this point. Mary says in response to Elizabeth, my soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for he has looked with favor on the lowliness of a servant. Surely from now on generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is for those who fear him from generation to generation. And so that was the first Sunday we dealt with that text. And then this last Sunday, we talked about being strong and what that meant, along with the cantata. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. And then this coming Sunday, the theme for the day is lifted up. And the passage is, God has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. And so we're going to talk a little bit about being lifted up and what that means. Whether we are talking about how God lifts up the lowly, how we lift up the lowly, or how we are lifted up. So we'll wrestle a little bit with that and talk about what that meant perhaps for Mary in her day, and how that maybe described her and where she was with this whole calling of God. And then we'll talk a little bit about what that might mean for us as we try to imitate Mary and her listening for blessing and her strength, and her lifting up and being lifted up, if you will. So we'll do that a little bit. So I'm gonna deviate a little bit here with a story. It came to me just a little while ago. You might have noticed that the geese are in full migration. They can be pretty loud, and I love it's. I think it's inspiring, and I love watching them fly in formation, and just hundreds or probably thousands, etc., of geese that are flying above us and honking. But anyway, they're pretty active right now, and so I love watching them fly. It reminded me of a story that why when you see geese flying in a V, you know why there's one line is longer than the other. You know why one line is longer than the other? It's because there's more geese in that line. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Actually, I believe if you talk to a scientist or a biologist, it's about aerodynamics. But one of my favorite explanations of why geese fly that way is because of what that line, that V, etc., what that line creates. So many times we hear, there's even a religious song that will raise you up like as wings. Anyway, eagles tend to be pretty independent. Obviously, they mate. They'll be in pairs for a while, but they tend to be pretty solitary. And I'm not sure in terms of the community of faith, in terms of the beloved community which we long for, if that's really a good image. And I like the image of the goose better. They talk about the aerodynamics of that line that the goose flies in, the V, and that long line. And the aerodynamics of it is that when the goose in front pushes his wings down, that creates airflow behind him, which lifts, if you will, the goose behind them as they raise their wings. That airflow that's pushed down and back from the goose in front catches the wings behind, and quite based on what I've read, quite literally, they lift one another up and make their flying more effortless, if you will. They support one another. I think that's a much better image for the community of faith, that we're all in this together. We're not in this for personal or individualistic recognition, etc. But we're all in this together. We should be lifting one another up. That we should be lifted up, as Mary says. Mary says that God has lifted up the lowly, and I think that's, at least I believe, that's a much better image for the community of faith in terms of we should all be working together so that that our work, that our justice work, that our mercy work, that caring for others and serving others doesn't become a burden. But if we do it all together, we're much more efficient and much more effective and vital in the communities around us and the world. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about this coming Sunday, is how how do we lift one another up? How do we care for one another? How do we participate with one another in making this world a better place in which to live, to spread the good news of God's love for all. So anyways, that's kind of the teaser for this coming Sunday in the worship theme of lifted up, and we'll be using that piece of the Magnificat where Mary speaks of God lifting up the lowly. So I hope you'll join us if you're able, either in person or at the 10 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock, we'll have our sanctuary service online, live streamed. We successfully live streamed last week. We had both video and sound. Though we maybe started it a little early because I think we had almost an hour of just our slides, and part of that was because we just wanted to make sure it was working right by the time we started the service. So you had to kind of get through some just watching maybe we should call it behind the scenes. Anyway, so this Sunday maybe we'll try to start a little closer to the start time. But anyway, it did work, and so if you can't join us in person, perhaps you can join us online, and you can search for us on our Facebook page or on our website, and there's a link to YouTube and YouTube Live where you can watch our service live on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. So I hope you'll join us either here in person or online. We'll be glad you did. So I think that's about all I have for today in two parts. If I was technologically adept, I could probably figure out how to put these two videos together, but I'm not that talented. So if you want to watch one and then watch the other, I'll leave that up to you. Most importantly, I'm so glad you joined us. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're having a good week. And as I always say, may we strive to lift one another up and be a light and love one another, every single other, until there are no others, only one beloved community of all. May it be so. May it be soon. Thank you for being here. Goodbye, and God bless.